You are watching NetSoft IT Academy. 905-812-2923. info@netsoftacademy.com. www.netsoftacademy.com.
Well, hello and welcome back to AZ-104 Exam Prep Series. In this video, we will walk through how to create and configure compute, or you can say virtual machine in Azure. This is one of the most fundamental tasks any cloud admin will do. Here we will create some virtual machines, configure the disk encryption. Plus, we will see how to manage the machine size, that is the configuration, how much RAM, how much processors you want to give to your virtual machine. We will see how to attach additional data disk with your VM. We will deploy a virtual machine in availability zone, availability set. Plus, we will also learn Azure virtual machine scale set. So it's all about compute. So let's get started. All right, so now we will check out how to deploy the virtual machine and also how to deploy virtual machine scale sets. Okay, so we're back to Azure and I will create, again, another resource group. This will be called Demo, as usual. Click Next, Next, Create. Done. Now, for my virtual machine, I will also create a virtual network. Now, there are two ways. You can go directly to the virtual machine template or virtual machine service and start creating it there, adding all the details for virtual network, virtual machine disk, then public IP, then NSG, all in just one go. And then Azure will create all those separate services and then connect it automatically. In simple words, you can create multiple services in just one go if you want. That will save time and it's kind of a shortcut. Or if you want, yes, it is possible to create network separately, then public IP separately, NSG separately, even disk separately. Even you can have images, custom images separately and then connect it all. So both approaches are fine. In the end, the result will be same. A virtual machine running your service. So let's go ahead. I will create a network. Call it demo vnet 01 and Canada Central. IP address 10.0.0.0 is fine for me. It's a class A default IP given to you by Azure. I will call it sub. Click Next, Next. Review it and create your virtual network. All right, so this is done. Now I will also create NSG separately. Why not? I will show you how to attach it. Resource group, demo. My NSG will be called demo NSG. Next, next, and create. All right, done. Now let's configure it. I'll open inbound port for RDP. Call it RDP, 1000 priority, leaving a lot of room for expansion. Click Add. And that's it. Now, you can even create network cards separately. So this showcases that all these services are separate, just like Legos, and then you join them to create a structure. So how about I click on Create? Yeah, let it refresh first. And resource group, I will give this network card a name. I will call it Demo NIC, NIC. Virtual network will be demo vnet 01. Subnet will be the subnet I have. IPv4, Give a dynamic IP address, that is DHCP provided by Azure. I'm okay with that. After all, just a normal VM. And create this network card. All right. So now, when you create a VM, of course, that virtual machine will have operating system hard drive. That is fine. But just like your PC or your laptop, when you add external disk to your laptop and you initialize it, now you have extra hard drive, right? Just like that, here you can also create data disk. It's like expanding the space. So let's do that as well. And you will search for disk, create, select your resource group, call it demo disk, no infra. I don't need high availability for demo purposes, fine. Source type, well, it is just a disk, right? So I'm not getting it from any other disk, so I'll just say none. But let's say you want to extract information. Let's say there's a disk with data inside it, and you want it here as well. In that case, that disk with the data will become your source disk. Here, I just want an empty disk. Size, 1 terabyte. No. You can select any, just 4 GB. I know it's not that much, but for demo, it will work. Now, this is where you can decide if you want to encrypt your disk. Basically, your disk is always encrypted. You just decide if you want to manage the key or if you want to manage the key or Microsoft can manage it. I'm okay with platform managed key. Networking. Enable public access from all network. No, I don't want that. But if you do this, it will still work. You can still connect your machine with this disk. If you say disable public and private both, well, this disk will be disconnected from all the networks and no one can connect with it. Now, why will you do that? Maybe you want to archive all the disks, right? You just want to save it. In that case, you can disable all the connection. Or what if you say, no, disable public access and enable private access? Well, here you can create a private connection, right? Private endpoint. So demo, you can say demo disk C for connection. Now here you create a private endpoint, demo endpoint. Resource is this, virtual network is this, subnet is this. All good? Click OK. This is how you create a private connection. Public is open for all, private is just for private, or the third option is cut all the connections. And just click on OK. Then click Next. No need for advanced options here. These are like advanced options anyhow. Not in our scope. Click Next. And create. A disk will be created. Of course, this disk is empty and not a single machine is actually using it. It is just sitting there. Now I have my network card, NSG, disk separately. How about public IP as well? P, UB, IP, pub IP, public IP. High availability, not required. All good. Next. No protection. Next. Next. Validate it and create. Perfect. Now you might be wondering that I showed you how to create all these resources, but when I will start the virtual machine? So let's do that now. So let's go to virtual machine and click on create virtual machine. Now select your resource group and subscription. Give your machine a name, VM 01 is fine for me. Region will be Canada Central. Availability not required at this point. Security can be standard. We don't need TPM. Now, the next is images. You search for the image or operating system you want to install. If you cannot find that operating system here, then you can click on See All Images, and then you will go to Marketplace and search for the image you need, whether it is Windows or Linux, whatever you need. Remember, different images will also have different cost. For me, Windows 10 Pro is fine. I'm pretty familiar with this. Now, the next is your architecture. Some images can run on ARM as well as 64, so you can choose, but Windows run on 64-bit. If you have old Windows, then it can also run on 32-bit. Okay. Run with Azure Spot discount. Well, this is nice. What is Spot discount? In simple words, Spot discount is a heavily discounted instance or spot given to the customer so that the customer can utilize the resource at a very cheaper rate. But when this spot is actually used again by a high-paying customer, or when Azure wants this spot back for a more critical purpose, then the spot will be taken automatically and your machine will go down. It's like a parking spot, right? So there is actually a big land and there are many parking spots. During rush hour, or let's say during any public occasion, all the parking slots will be full. So the owner of that parking lot will, will take higher charges for that parking lot. You have to pay premium, maybe $20 or $40 per parking. But let's say off season, when the owner knows half of the parking lot is not even used. In that case, imagine he gave you a very far away parking lot in the corner somewhere, which is not used by anyone. Owner is not earning any money on it. And he said, you can take it for, let's say, $5 per day, or maybe like $1 per day. I don't care. But the only condition is during peak hours, or let's say during festivals or civic holidays, I need this spot back for business. And you agree to it because you are getting cheaper spot. And then you just agree to this clause that you have to give it back. That is your Azure Spot discount. So if you want your machine to be super duper cheap, well, you can go with Azure Spot discount and get 2 CPU cores, 8 GB RAM for 0.02410 per hour. Pretty straightforward. Okay, and the eviction policy you will also decide. So eviction type. Eviction means when and how they can remove you from that spot. Your machine or your virtual machine will be evicted when Azure excess capacity disappears. So when the capacity is gone, your machine will be gone as well. Or you can say price or capacity. Your virtual machine will be evicted when Azure excess capacity disappears or cost exceed your specified maximum price. So this is where you can also put a hard cap that, hey, I only want to spend this much. If it is more than that, please remove me, kick me out. Then you can also decide the eviction policy. Do you want Azure to stop and deallocate your machine so that you can still run that machine on a premium spot? Or do you want Azure to completely delete that machine? You can do that as well. Now, size is also clear. Size simply means the performance you need for your machine. If you want 2 cores, 8 GB RAM, then select that. Otherwise, there are multiple sizes as well. Some gives you more RAM, some gives you more core, but remember, every size will have the cost associated with it. If you don't find your size here, then click on all sizes, and you will see all the versions. Now, what are these versions? Well, basically, Azure put their sizes into multiple categories according to multiple use case. For example, if you need a machine with a graphic card then you will not use D series, B series, you will use N series. It's not mentioned here, but you will use N for November series for graphic card. Well, if you want more CPU, you want more compute power, you will use the specific category. D is just for general purpose, so I'm okay with general purpose use case. Hibernation, you already know, it will put your machine in hibernation. Hibernation means that if you're working on some project and there is a lot of data on the RAM, when you turn it off, or when you hibernate your machine, not turn it off, when you hibernate your machine, all the RAM content will be saved on the hard drive, and then the machine will go in an off state. And then when you turn your machine on, that chunk which is saved on the hard drive will load back on your RAM and you will get your content back. Next is username and password. This account have nothing to do with Entra ID. This is the local administrator account of the machine you're creating. All right. Now, here you decide if you want to open a specific port. I know you only see 4 services, but there is a way to open any other port you want. But these are the most common one. So Azure gives you a shortcut to decide, do you want to use HTTP, HTTPS, SSH for Linux, and RDP for Windows? I'll say RDP. Here you accept the license. Disk. This is where you select your disk. If you select standard hard drive, well, you will get cheaper disk, low cost, really nice, but not good for critical load because it is slow. Then you have standard SSD, which gives you a best of both worlds, cheap and good performance. But if you want best performance, then you will go with premium SSD. Remember, all these types of SSD right now is LRS, locally redundant storage, means 3 copies of these disk. You will only see 1 disk, but at the back end, 3 replicas will be created in a local zone or data center. Now, if you save a picture in this drive, you will not see 3 pictures there. You will only see 1. Azure creates 3 replicas for the backend to give you high availability. But what if the whole zone is down? Let's say the data center is down. The rack is gone, everything is gone. Well, in that case, you lost your data. Or you lost the access to your data at least. In that case, you can go with zone redundant storage, ZRS. You have premium SSD and standard SSD options only on zone redundant storage. Again, 3 replicas will be created, but in 3 zones, in 3 data centers, 1 in each. So if the rack is gone, you still have access to your data. If the whole drive is gone, you still have access. If the whole zone is gone, you still have access. But I will use this one because it is the cheapest option, or I can go with premium SSD. All right, this is for encryption. Well, data at rest is always encrypted, and platform managed key means Microsoft will manage the key. Now, remember the disk we created? Well, you can add your data disk over here. Now, do you want to create and attach a new disk? No. Do you want to attach an existing disk? Yes. So you click on it, and this is the one, right? Demo disk. Host caching, you can say read and write, but again, this is not for your writing purposes. This is for host caching. This is a temporary area. Okay, you attached it, click next. For network, do you want to create a new network? No, but you can. I will use the network I created. Now, the public IP, again, I want to use my public IP. Now, what about NSG? Yes, I want NSG because the ports need to be opened for public. If you say none, then there will be no NSG. If you say basic, then a new NSG will be created with this port open. But if you click on advanced, that means you know what you're doing and you can connect the NSG you created. All right. Then you have option for deleting network card when the VM is deleted. This is specifically for housekeeping because let's say you made a mistake and you want to delete the machine. Well, when you delete it, the other components which is connected with your machine might not be deleted along with. Okay, in that case, you will have a lot of scattered resources. You don't want that, so you select this option. Same goes for this one. Then enable accelerated networking gives you better performance for your network. Now, if you have a load balancer, which you learned, or you have an application gateway, and you have a backend pool. So for both services, you will have backend pool, and you want to put this machine inside that backend pool, then you can do it from here. Management. Do you want to domain join this machine to Enter ID? You can do that. Do you want to enable auto shutdown? Do you want to back up this machine? Do you want to actually update your machine manually? Or do you want Microsoft Azure to update your machine? All that can be set over here, management. Monitoring. Do you want to set an alert as if this machine is screaming and it is being used at 100% of capacity? The machine cannot take it anymore, right? In that case, you want to get an alert. You can create alert over here. We will learn some of this in future modules. Then, if you want to diagnose the boot, I will say flow, then you can enable it. Well, this will actually save some screenshot of the boot process, especially for troubleshooting options. Let's say your machine is configured properly, but when you start it, it's not booting up properly. So how will you find out that what's wrong? In that case, if you can see the boot process, it can be very helpful. So you can do that. I always disable it for this demo because we don't need to monitor anything at this point. Then enable operating system guest diagnostics. Again, I don't need that. Then enable application health monitoring. If there is an application running, well, you can monitor the health of that application. It simply checks if the application is responding or not. Advance. Let's say you want to deploy the operating system, but you also want to install Zoom in it, or you want to install some drivers in it, or you want to run a script in it. Well, you can do it right away. Extensions are simply extra softwares you install on the machine, like antivirus as well, or some agents you want to install. Then you have tags to tag this machine to a project. Then you review and create. And that's the process of creating a virtual machine. So now we will just wait for this machine to deploy. All right, so deployment is done. Let's go to the resource. This is my machine up and running. If you copy this public IP, RDP, paste it, connect, type NITAADMIN, password, hit enter, and you are connected with the machine you just created. Now, there's one more step. Again, that could have been done with a script, when you add a new disk which has never been used, you have to initialize it, have to format it into proper, format. Now, we need to do it manually. This is the best case scenario where you can use a script which runs at the end of this deployment and also initialize the disk. So you go to computer management. It will just take time, it's slow. Okay, just wait for it. Because if you go to File Explorer right now, you cannot see that is there any additional drive added. As you can see, no. This is your OS disk. This is your temporary disk. Now, where is your drive? If you go to your computer management and go to disk management, here it is. There's 4 GB one. So initialize disk. click on OK, it will give you the prompt automatically. But if you closed it or canceled it, you can always do it later. So go here, right-click, click on Initialize Disk. Yes, GPT, partition table. Done. Then right-click on a disk and click on New Simple Volume. Next, next, next. If you want to give it a name, you can. Next, and finish. Done. Here you go. Your disk is ready. So this is how you create a machine. Now this is your infrastructure as a service. You can use it for whatever purpose you want. Next, we will see how to create virtual machine scale set. All right, so now let's check out virtual machine scale set. Plus, before that, I will also tell you what availability zones means or availability set means, right? So now, the concept is when you create your virtual machine, what if something happens to that machine? Well, in that case, your service is down. And for any business, a down service equal to major loss. Now, what is high availability? High availability have a very simple definition. High availability means that the service must be available no matter what happens to your infrastructure, right? No matter what. If there is a disaster, a natural disaster, man-made one, someone actually hacked the company, it was an internal job or external job, doesn't matter. That all is your headache at the back end. In the end, service must be available. That is the goal. So Azure gives you certain features and tools to create an environment which is very resilient. It gives you high availability. And you will see that in cloud computing, especially in Azure cloud computing, almost every service offers you high availability options. Now you will notice that whenever I say, I don't need high availability, I say no zone, no zone. Well, in that case, you can select multiple zones to create multiple instances and offering high availability. So let's go ahead and click on virtual machine. When you click on create, I'm not showing you how to create a virtual machine, you already know. I just want to show you one tab, availability option, that's it. So if you click here, you have options, availability zone, virtual machine scale set, availability set. Now, if you select availability zone, that means it will physically separate your resources within a region, because in one region, you don't have only one zone or one data center. A region can have multiple zones. Yes, it is also possible that some region might only have 2 zones or even 1 zone. It is possible. But in most cases, now Azure have multiple zones every region. I am not sure, but a long time ago, I think Brazil only had fewer zones. But now even Brazil have multiple zones. So when you select this option, okay, you can choose up to 3 availability zone, 1 VM per zone. So now you can create 3 machines. Yes, you have to create 3 machines, and you have to remember that it is obvious that those 3 machines must run the same service, because overall they're providing resilience on a service. Or you can say Azure selected zone. Let Azure assign the best zone for your needs. Well, Azure will do it for you. Or you can select. It all depends on you. Okay, so that is your availability zone. And this is how you actually use it. You don't see, and you will never see what is happening in the back end. That is Microsoft's responsibility. You just make your selection, and your availability goes to 99.99 some percentage. The next is availability set. This automatically distributes your VMs across multiple fault domains and even update domains. So if you click on availability set, you need to select one. So what is availability set? Let me show you. So the main objective of availability set is to provide you fault domains and update domain. You can select maximum of 3 fault domain and maximum of 20 update domains. Now what is this? Well, I'll show you over here. Right now I could have opened whiteboard as well, but just stay with me, okay? So imagine this is Azure data center, one zone, okay, one data center. And then there are multiple rooms in that data center. That is obvious, right? Multiple rooms. Every room will have multiple racks, like a lot of racks, correct? Now, every rack will have network connection, power supply connection, cooling connection. Network, power supply, cooling. Network, power supply, cooling. Network, power supply, cooling. Okay. If anything goes wrong, let's say with this power supply or this cooling system, well, in that case, this one or this whole rack will not respond. Okay, this is gone. So if you have your service running here, you will lose connection. So when a particular section of services, or let's say your infrastructure, share a common failure point, that becomes a fault domain. So this whole rack running multiple servers in it, because there are servers inside it. Those are called blades, right? So this is one fault domain. If something goes wrong in this fault domain, you lose connection. Similarly, Azure have thousands and thousands of fault domains. 1, 2, 3, 4, at this level, at this scope at least. Now this is fault domain. What Azure gives you is that it gives you the option of selecting at least 3 fault domains. That means, let's say you have your service. Oh, wait. Okay. This is your service. Let's say you have your service running over here. If this fault domain goes down, you lose connection. The availability is not there. But if you select 3 fault domains, then Azure will put your service in randomly any 3 fault domains. Now, what if this hard drive is gone where the service is running? You still have access. What if this whole blade is gone? Something is wrong with the whole blade. Or maybe there is a technical error. Well, you still have access to your service. Everything is running. What if the whole rack is gone? Well, you still have your service running. So, the fault domain. Now, the next concept, that is your update domain. Now, similarly, you have multiple racks here, or multiple blades, sorry. Okay, now what is update domain? Azure always update and maintain their machines, thousands and thousands of computers. But Microsoft understands that they cannot turn off every server in a data center to update it. A lot of people will lose their services. So what they do is they update their machine in batches. So imagine that the rule which Microsoft follow is update 2 machines at a time. 2 machines. Like it can be in any sequence or it can be in any other fault domain, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is 2 machines at a time. So what will happen? If your service is running on this fault domain and this update domain, and if these 2 computers go to maintenance, you still have your service running here. All right? So just bear with me, pay attention. I'll show you that. Okay, now let's go back to the pencil mode. All right, how many update domains you can select? 20. So let's say this 1, 2, 3, 4. How many circles you can see? 4. At least I am showing you 4 update domains. So if you select 2 update domains and 3 fault domains, well, you cannot. But what if you select 3 fault domains and 4 update domains? That means your service will run, or your machine will run on first fault domain and 1 update domain, then a second fault domain and the second update domain, then the third fault domain and the third update domain, and then again the fourth update domain, because you cannot have the fourth fault domain. That's your limit. All right, and so on. So I hope now you know fault domains and update domains. Quite important. Don't save. So you can select that. Okay, so you make your selection, and then you decide how many update domains you need. For example, if you have 3 fault domains and you only keep, let's say, 1 update domain, well, again, it's quite risky. Yes, you do have fault domain protection, but what about update? If the machine goes to maintenance, you may have a chance that your service will be down. You select 2. At least it is better than 1. You can select 4, 5, or maximum 20. It all depends how critical your service is and how much uptime performance you need out of it. Then you click OK, your availability set will be created, and then you just keep on creating machine and put them in the availability set you created. Now, the scale set. If you select scale set, you have to select 1. I don't have it, so you can say create new. But it cannot give you a small window here, like availability set, because scale set needs a lot of configuration. That is why it is telling you you need to go to virtual machine scale set. So let's do that. Virtual machine scale set. Now, this is exactly like deploying any other machine. The only difference is here you will create a condition according to which the machines or Azure will scale your machines. So now there are 2 directions of scaling: horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. One direction and 2. Now, this vertical one is also called scaling up or scaling down. Scaling up, scaling down. Horizontal scaling is also called scaling out or scaling in. Okay, so now difference is, imagine this is your machine. You start from here. Now your machine have, let's say, 1 CPU core, 4 GB RAM. Let's imagine that. It's a pretty weak machine, but it's okay. Now you have 2 options. If this machine cannot handle the load, all right, you can add more machines like it. All 1 CPU, 4 GB RAM, but more machines like it. Okay, this is your strictly horizontal scaling. When you add more machines or similar instances, you're scaling out. When you remove these machines, you're scaling in. That is your horizontal scaling. Now, what is vertical scaling? Vertical scaling means now you're increasing, I will just not draw. Okay, so you're increasing the configuration. So instead of 1 or 4 GB RAM, now you have a machine, or the same machine, by the way, not a different machine, same machine, but now you added 4 cores and let's say 16 GB RAM. You are scaling up. You are scaling vertically. And when you again remove the resources, you are scaling down. Okay? Yes, it is also possible, like if you understand the concept of going in both directions. So what do you mean by that? Well, you can start from one machine, all right? Then you can actually add another machine, all right, But at the same time, you can also increase the resources. So this machine have 4 cores and 16 GB RAM, let's say. And this one have only 1 core and 4 GB RAM. Then you add one more machine here. And this one have, let's say, 16 cores and 32 GB RAM. But you should not do this, because in this one, you have to be ready for inconsistencies. Because sometime when you balance your load among all these machines, some machines will be super fast, the application will run smoothly, and then some machines will run very slowly. So there will be a lot of inconsistency. But can you create such kind of environment? Yeah, you can experiment with it. So I hope now you know the directions. No, I don't want to save it. So let's create subscription, resource group, give your machine a name. So I will say VM, right? Then Canada Central, availability zone, again, I don't need it, but you can add both. You can have scale set, plus you can put it in multiple zones for even higher availability. Now, this is something different, orchestration. How do you want Azure to orchestrate it? Well, you have two options, flexible and uniform. Flexible, achieve high availability at scale with identical or multiple virtual machine types. So you can have identical or multiple virtual machine types. You can have some mix as well. Uniform is usually used for optimized large-scale stateless workload. When you have, let's say, non-persistent machines and you have a huge environment, you want to scale fast, well, we'll go with uniform. I'll say flexible. Security can be standard. We don't have to bother about it right now. Next, how do you want to scale? First option, manually update the capacity. This is where if the traffic goes up and the machine cannot take it and you got the alert, well, Azure will not scale automatically for you. You have to log into the portal and raise or move the slider to add more machines. So you have to give input. But once you give the input, machines will be added automatically in your behalf, right? Next is no scaling profile. This is the worst one, I can say. Not the worst one. Again, this is an approach or an option. This is where Azure will not automate any part of the deployment. You can create new machine and keep on adding in the pool. And then you have to remove it as well. This makes sense if you just want scale set infrastructure to handle the front-end connection and you are using some third-party tool to manage your scaling. Yeah, in that case, I understand. The best one is auto-scaling. Auto-scaling means if a threshold is reached and the machine cannot take it anymore, then new instance will be added automatically. And when the load goes down, then the machines will be removed automatically. So we will use this one. By the way, this is the one which need configuration. Otherwise, these two are simple. Okay, now you will create your scaling configuration. So click on configure. A default one is already given, so you can modify it. So let's do it. Now, auto scale, not manual. Default instance count, like how many machines you want to start with. Let's start with 1. You can start with like 5 if you want. All right. Next is how many minimum instance you want. Well, it cannot be 2 because you're starting with 1. Minimum means once a scaling is started, let's say I want to start with 5, let's say. It will start with 5, it can go down to 2, but never to 1. So at least there will be 2 machines always running. What if I say 6? Well, no. The minimum count must be less than the maximum count, or less than or equal to the initial instance count, and greater than or equal to 0. So you have to do that. That is like a logical error here. So let's start with 1, and we can go down to 1. Of course, we have to do that. Maximum means when the traffic goes up, how many machines you want Azure to create. What will be the maximum hard cap? That is what maximum means. For this demo, I will say 2. Now, scale out. What should be the CPU threshold if you want to scale out? Let's say 90%. It all depends on your scenario or your situation. Okay, so let's say the threshold is beyond 90%. Now you want to scale up. How many machines you want to scale with? Do you want Azure to do it one by one, or you want Azure to deploy 10 machines in one go, then 10 machines in one go? This is where you decide that. I'll say 1. Scale in. You also want to bring the resources down if you want to save some money. That is what scale set do. It saves money and also gives you performance whenever it is needed. So scale down threshold is 20%. When the CPU is pretty chill, then bring down the instance count. Now, when you're removing the machine, do you want to do it one by one or multiple machines at the same time? You do it here. Now, we know that machines sometimes goes to 100% spontaneously. There are always certain spikes. So at every spike, do you want Azure to create a new machine? No, this will be a mess because you will have so many machines created and you're paying for all the machine. For what? For just spikes. This is why you want Azure to query or check the average of some time. The minimum you can go is 5 minutes and maximum 720 minutes. So I'll say 5 minutes. So here it will check for the last 5 minutes. If the threshold is beyond 90%, only then a new machine will be created. So I will say save. My config is ready. These are all advanced options, which is predictive forecasting, scale in policy, and so much more. Again, you can actually practice it. But at least create your sandbox environment. I'm helping you to create a sandbox environment to practice multiple scenarios. All right, which operating system you want? Windows 10. What will be the size of every machine? Well, I can select up to 5 sizes, right? It can give random sizes. Sometime, why 5 sizes? Because sometime a particular size might not be available or there might be a quota limit. In that case, you don't want Azure to be stuck. It's your production, by the way. So you give the option of 5 sizes so that if one size quota is finished or maybe something is wrong with that size, at least you have 4 new sizes which will still give resource to your computer and your computer can run. But for this demo, I know it will work. So DS2 V3 is fine. Nothing is going wrong with this size. And I have the quota. This is your local admin. So NITAADMIN, password 1234, accept the license, click next, no spot discount required. Next disk, same thing. Network, I will put it in my network. The only point to remember, you should have enough IP addresses for your expansion. Imagine that your scaling is till 100 machines and you only have 50 IPs. Well, machines cannot go beyond 50 then. You should have 100 IPs there. Okay, all good. I don't want to put it behind any of this load balancing option, but it makes sense to put virtual machine scale set behind an Azure load balancer. It makes sense. Okay. Management, I will disable the monitoring. I don't need it. Upgrade. Well, here Azure select manual updates because you are scaling up and down. So to manage the updates, well, it is a good idea to manage it manually. Or you can also use Intune to manage the updates. But again, scaling and Intune registration doesn't work that well. Okay. Health, I don't need it here. I don't need, okay, advanced, I will go with max spreading. No need for adding any script or application. Simple machines are good enough. And create. Now, when I create it, you will see that only one machine will be created. Of course, and it will stay one. although I said the upper limit is 2 machines, it will not scale. Why? Because that one machine is not beyond 90% of CPU usage. So what I will do, I will connect with this machine. Okay, I will connect with this machine. Then I will run a benchmark to push the CPU to 100% for 5 minutes. And then we should see that a new instance will be created. I will pause the video now. All right, so deployment is done. Let's go to our virtual machine scale set. And of course, you will see machines over here as well, because scale set is the upper layer. It managed the logic, but at the back end, it is just a machine. And this number is given by the scale set for indexing purposes. This is my scale set. If you go to instances, you will see only one instance is running. All right, this is your machine after all. And this is the public IP. So let's copy it and connect with this public IP. Let's see if we can. Oh, we cannot because NSG is not there, I guess. It is, but the port is not open. So let's open the RDP port. Like if you know all these things, right? If you know how to connect the dots, it becomes very easy to find the issue and quickly fix it. Okay, the only logic is that I just want to connect with this machine to push it beyond 100%, nothing else. So I just created it. Let's connect. Oh, move to here. Okay. Now I will wait for it, and then I will run just a simple benchmark software to push the CPU to 100%. Nothing fancy, just a simple benchmark. All right, so this is the software, and let me open the task manager as well. It's already at 100%. Let's push it even and keep it 100. So I'm going to run the benchmark, and this will keep the CPU at 100 for a long time. Now I will keep it running, and then we'll go back and check the instances. There should be 2 instances created then. So if you go here, click on instances, and just wait here. Maybe after 5-6 minutes, refresh, and there will be a new instance created. If it is there, that means your scaling policy is working properly and all good. It will not go to 3rd or 4th instance. The hard cap was 2. All right, here you can see there are 2 machines now. Now this machine is just created. So if you go to virtual machine, you will also see 2 machines because of this, pushing the CPU beyond 90%. All right, so that was your Azure Virtual Machine skill set, and also you know how to create a machine, how to add disk, encrypt your disk, and so on. So in this video, we covered how to create and configure a virtual machine, how to set up disk encryption, and make sure that either the key is managed by the platform or you. We also saw how to change VM sizes and attach disk with the VM. We also saw how availability zone, availability set, and Azure Virtual Machine Scale Set can help you to achieve resilience, higher fault tolerance, and in the end, give high availability. Then make sure you go to NetSoft IT Academy. There we have all the, advanced courses along with lab books as well as scenarios for all the topics. Over there, you can practice each and every element slowly at your own pace. So make sure you check out NetSoft IT Academy. I will see you in the next video in this series. Until then, take care.
Thank you for watching NetSoft IT Academy. 905-812-2923. info@netsoftakademy.com. www.netsoftakademy.com.